What's up, guys? Snaggle J here, general manager of the TGS Cincinnati Reds, with another episode of the Big Red Machine. And this is it. 2030. It's here. We're ready to rock and roll, and this is going to be the season preview for what I feel like should be a very interesting season for the Reds. And I'm going to go over, take a look at our roster, which again you could see in the league history section of the Discord. I posted the 26 men that will be making the trip to San Diego to kick off the season against the Padres in tomorrow's first sim. We actually only have 5 games in the first sim, with 2 in San Diego and then 3 in Philadelphia. We have opening day as an off day and then the Thursday as an off day as well. So a little bit of a quirk in the schedule early there. But yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I think, again, I don't have any crazy illusions that, we're going to contend for a playoff spot or even really win 80 games. I think when you look at a lot of the modeling that is out there, Succa, for example, has us in the low to mid 70s, which I think, again, would be an improvement of, 10 to 15 wins over last year. I do think there is a possibility, that we could perform above expectations and get into the upper 70s in wins, maybe even flirt with 500. But I think a lot of things would have to go right for that to happen. I think we still have some glaring weaknesses that in the National League, especially with the Cubs and the Mets and the Phillies and now the Monarchs. The Rockies are a dangerous team. The Nationals are a dangerous team. And then, even in that, and not in a demeaning kind of way, but even in that sort of second tier, with the Hammers and the Marlins, everybody in the National League is a dangerous team. It is a very parity-filled league. But I do think there's some good sort of signs. So let's take a look at what we're going to be throwing out there in terms of lineups. So on the lineup side, again, pretty balanced. And we are going to be starting the season with 13 hitters and 13 pitchers. I think the 14 and 12 with the quality of our staff is just not a good formula. I think, again, I have a couple of starters. We're going to talk about the pitching in a bit. But, I think it made more sense starting out the season to carry 13 pitchers. We'll see how it goes. We might make changes to it sim by sim, depending on, if our bullpen enters the sim and we only have maybe 6 games and they're all ready to roll and fresh. We may send a guy down for sim and bring an extra bat up, especially, if we're going to an Oracle, for example, and we might want to make a few tweaks to the lineup to be a little more Oracle friendly. On the offensive side, I really only have one position that I absolutely need to platoon. And again, that's not saying there's other positions I shouldn't platoon, but with the quality of the roster, again, we're not a contending team. So, I can get away with maybe playing somebody who should be platooned if we were a contending team. So I think for us, it made a lot more sense to go 13 and 13 to start. We'll see how it goes. So behind the plate, we've got 2 newcomers to the team. We have Noah Salas and Lee Haynes. Lee Haynes was a relatively late addition to the team late in the spring. We only signed him on March 25th. Again, slight fan interest boost there. Also still has a pretty good bat. Still has a little bit of pop. Can still get on base via the walk. You could see in a 450 plate appearance sample with Detroit last year, he had a 357 on base percentage. He had 9 home runs. So, still very capable with the bat. Obviously, the 50-50 on defense is not great. But the big reason why we brought Haynes in is because I really just felt like Siedzinski needed some more time in the minors. Haynes gives us a little bit of an FI boost and a guy that we could probably find a home for after the draft, a team that, maybe has a catcher go down, maybe wants to, add a little bit of a extra pop behind the plate. So again, we're playing the sign and dump kind of game there. Salas, we actually brought in for 2 years. Not a guy we wanted to bring in to sign and dump. He has the captain personality, which is great. He still has a great bat. Hit 284 last year for the Marlins. Looking forward to having him in the lineup. He does switch hit, but we're going to use him primarily against righties, and we're going to have Haynes in there against the lefties. So I feel like, again, neither of them are super great defensively. We do have some other catching options that are sort of working their way through the minors with Siedzinski, Santiago Garcia, a guy that we got from the Pirates in the offseason. I think he's, again, I'm really hoping this bat develops because we got that 70-60 there. I think he could be an option for us in a couple of years. But yeah, so that's what we're rocking behind the plate. First base, we got Big Reek. Now, again, with the massive shift from a pitcher-friendly park to a homer-friendly park, Rico Segura could have a big season. Obviously, he's going to play first base every day. Much better against the righties. Much better against the righties. Again, great season last year, 37 homers, 85 RBIs. I wouldn't be shocked if he flirts with 50 home runs this year if he can stay healthy and stay in the lineup with the new stadium. Again, couple years left of Segura. Relatively inexpensive compared to some of the money that's being thrown around at first baseman. Again, that X-Pop as well, so he's putting butts in the seats. So looking forward to another productive season from Segura. Our super number 1 rated prospect, Jaden Krause, will make his start of the season debut. We're not going to keep him down for service time foolishness or any of that. We're bringing him in. Again, Krause, we've sort of had to look at where the best to play him. So obviously Krause comes in as an outfielder from the draft. You see he does have 60, 55, 60 in the outfield. But he also has 65, 50, 50, 55 in the infield. And ultimately, we have a glut of outfielders. So for that reason, last year we started the training process in Double-A of moving him to second, getting him ready to play second. Other than 5 points of eye, he's fully developed. He's ready to go. He's going to dominate righties. I would not be surprised if Jaden Krause is in contention for National League Rookie of the Year. I really hope he is. And again, I think as the roster sorts itself out, in the next year or two, we'll see if we can find, the ability to get him back in the outfield. Because again, I think with that bat and, with the 60 range, the solid outfield profile, I do think he would be a very, very nice corner outfield option, but I think a very nice second base option as well. But we do have some other middle infielders coming up through the system, so we'll see where it goes. So he'll be debuting. Against righties, he's going to bat in the 2-hole. Against lefties, we're going to bat him in the 9-hole. So a little bit of strategy there, putting him in the 9-hole. Redford Jones ends up winning the third base job. I'm excited to see what Redford Jones is going to do. This could be a major bust again. He's hit everywhere he's gone in the minors. Didn't have a great spring. Has a nice looking bat profile here. Again, stronger against the lefties, but not a big slouch against the Rays. While this is not great, we're not going to platoon him at the start of the season. I'm excited. He's got a decent glove over for third base. We'll see how it goes. I think he could have a really good season. Again, I think that Redford Jones is another guy that if things go right and he gets the right dice rolls, he could be a possible Rookie of the Year contender in the NL. So Redford Jones going to be third base. Brian Dainzer is back for his first full season after making his debut and getting 104 games in 2029. Again, he's a D guy, plays everywhere. Again, we don't expect much from the bat. As evidenced by the fact he hit 168 last year, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if we get him to 200. I really would be shocked if he gets to 200. But you know what? Listen, what it really comes down to is, he's the best defensive option we have. We're going with that. We did flirt with the possibility of him becoming our center fielder as well, but we kind of decided to go in a different direction there, and probably the right direction, because again, he does have 80 outfield range. Again, Dainzer's problem is going to be the same problem that so many guys with this exact same profile have. Is he going to hit enough? We know he's going to contribute with the glove. We know he's going to contribute with the speed. Again, he did have 19 steals last year in the big leagues, 35 overall. But is he going to hit enough to warrant keeping around? And with somebody like Noel Carlson knocking on the door, Dainzer's days could be numbered. We go to the outfield. Manny Agilov is back for his third season with the Reds. Hopefully one that he can stay healthy all throughout. Again, he's hit 299 and 306 in his first two seasons. We're excited to have him back setting the table at the top of the order. Obviously, he's going to play both ways. He does hit lefties a little better than righties, but again, the bat profile against righties is not terrible. He does what he does. He doesn't strike out a ton. He gets on base. He gets some extra base hits in there. Center field, we're going to have Everett Ledford, who played center field a fair bit last year. Played all over last year, actually, in his debut. Wasn't great. Ledford is one of those interesting kind of guys. He doesn't have a whole lot of power. Makes pretty good contact, has a lot of gap, and doesn't strike out a ton. He recently, I think the one thing that saved his job is that in the offseason, he popped back up to 70 range after dropping to 65. So I think that was kind of the saving grace of him being able to keep his job, was that he was able to find that 5 range again during the offseason. Because again, with Lincoln Lanu being traded away, I knew we really didn't have a set in stone option. We tried the free agent market. Nothing really worked out there. So we'll see. Again, Ledford probably not going to be our long-term center fielder. But I think, he's got some track record in the minors. He 2028, he slashed 330, 405, 510 in AA, 299, 371, 448 in AAA. So again, a big drop-off from AA to AAA, and then a massive drop-off when he came to the big leagues. So we'll see if he can kind of get it back on track. In right field, we're going to have a bit of a mix in right field. So between right field and DH, we're going to be doing a few different things. So Harlan Lujan is going to be our right fielder against righties. And Keegan McDonald is going to be our right fielder against lefties. And actually, just to make my life a little bit easier visually, I should just go change that. Lujan, again, he's only 23, and I feel like he's about to hit his third season with the team after making a debut and getting almost 400 PAs in 2028. We really didn't factor him into the plans. He went down to AA. He OPS 1203 in 155 plate appearances, forced his way back in the club. Lujan, again, he in 337 at-bats, 12 homers, 51 RBIs, slash 297, 336, 472. The thing about Lujan is every time I go to replace him, I realize he's not that bad, and he's at 23, has already, has a decent track record in the big leagues, still fits on our club. Again, he's a bit of a liability defensively with the 45 range. But again, when you look at the 65, 55, 55, 40, 55 against righties, that's what we're keeping him around for. Keegan McDonald, we signed specifically to be a V left corner outfielder with the 60, 50, 50, 45, 65. He also has 70 speed. So it gives us some speed as well. Not a great defender, but again, signed specifically for 2 reasons. 1, he is a lefty corner outfield bat, and 2, Canadian. We always have some love for the Canadians. Woody Coons is going to get some time at DH against lefties. Part of the Lincoln Lanu trade. Again, 60, 60, 60, 45, 50 bat. He did not have a great spring. But again, we're going to give him some reps against righties at the DH spot. He was an absolute animal in AAA in the Yankees org last year, slashing 338, 381, 561 with 24 home runs. Woody Coons could be a sneaky 15, 20 home run guy with the right amount of at-bats against righties. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how he goes. This is the part that I've struggled with so much. And this is the part that now that I've been in the league, this is going to be the start of my third season. This is the part that is really hard, is that you become attached to certain players. So all off season, we have Josh Brecken, who has had 2 great seasons, has 111 doubles in 2 years, hit 300 in one season, hit 280 in the other. He's been, he has 29 home runs over those 2 years, 168 RBIs. I mean, he's been good. But the more and more I get into it, I realize, he doesn't have a great profile. He has a shocker profile, which again works good. If we were in an Oracle Park, which is kind of what we were in, Brecken works out a lot better. We were in a doubles heavy, power suppressed kind of environment. We're not in that anymore. And I think the hardest thing for me to do is to move away from guys that I've grown attached to. Trading Lincoln Lanu was impossibly hard because you know what? I've thought of him as the face of my team. Brecken's a guy who, again, he DHs. He doesn't put up a lot of WAR. It's just one of those things where you have to sort of be willing to be unattached from those guys. Brecken's still going to get some at-bats at DH against lefties because he still, has the best lefty DH bat on the team, but he's not going to play against righties. And to be quite honest, he was very, very close to being cut from the team. I was very actively trying to trade him in the offseason, trying to see if there was an Oracle or a more doubles-heavy environment out there that wanted a DH on a min deal. And honestly, I was trying to see, there was a very high possibility he was going to start the season in the minors because we really just didn't have, I was kind of wanting to go different ways. And then, we were able to, Virgil Cuba got picked up on waivers. Philander Munoz is going to start the season on the DL. When he comes back with his captain status, that's going to create some problems for us. And Munoz is a solid defensive outfielder, if I remember correctly. He's a great defensive outfielder, something that our corner outfielders right now are not. So, when Munoz is ready to come back in a few weeks, that's going to create an issue for me. And we'll see kind of where that goes. Let's take a look now over on the pitching side. The pitching side, listen, I'm going to tell you right now, this is where our season is going to be made. If our pitching sucks, we're going to lose 100 games. If our pitching's great, we could win 80 games. And I think that's, true of any team, but I really just feel like our pitching has so many different ways it can go. The only holdover in our starting rotation at the beginning of the season is Neil Siddle. Everyone else is gone. Leland Savage finds himself in the bullpen, so he's still with the team. But all of our other starters are gone. We lost Risborough and Struck in the expansion draft. And for the life of me, I couldn't remember who we had Savage, Risborough, Struck, Seidel, and I couldn't even tell you who the number 5 was. Might have been, I know we had Owen Farner in there for a bit, but a lot of turnover in the rotation. Siddle is going to be interesting to see, now that he, after his big dev pop last year, where he gained 25 stuff, he's gained 5 points of movement, he's gained up to 65 control. He could have a huge year. I'd love him to rev up to 50, 55 movement to really become elite. Obviously, the big drawback to Siddle is he only has 45 stamina. So, he's going to throw 4 or 5 innings a game. He's going to stretch in the odd game into the 6th. But again, I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do. Our first real, TCR player. I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see. Gus Hadge is the guy we brought in on a 1-year deal, $2 million. We're hoping, he's going to contribute for us with the 60 movement, 55 control. Could be a guy that we dump, helps the fan interest, which is nice. Owen DeRuin is going to get his chance after spending last season in Double-A where he went 15-4. I'm excited to see how he does. Another one of our very few prospect starters that we've been able to sort of bring through the system. We acquired him in a trade with the Angels along with Josh McDunn for Jose Baez. Kieran Allman, who was our closer last year, is going to move into an opening role to start the season. I don't know how committed to this I am, so this could be like a two-sim and done kind of thing. Again, Allman, very righty, splitty with the sidearm, 65-40, 65. And my big thing is I just don't trust Pietro Tholen to start on his own. I'd rather see him pitch against lefties because, again, he's 75, 60, 50 against lefties, and he's going to be our more common follower. So I think that's strategically the best way to go about it. And Cody Jones, who was a late waiver pickup, is going to jump into the number 5 spot. He's a spark plug. He's got some good velo, 55 movement. Had a couple of decent starts. He's got a 1-hit 5-inning start there, and he's got another 5-inning, 4 hits, couple of runs. So we're going to give him first chance at the 5 spot. In the bullpen, again, we have Leland Savage, who was our team war leader last year, who unfortunately has dropped 5 points of movement and 5 points of stuff. He dropped a little bit, and then we moved him to reliever. So again, fell off of a cliff a little bit after his decent-ish last season. He's the 13th guy, so, again, he just barely made the team because of the strategy that we're in. Innings eater. We got Pietro Tholen again, who's going to be our long reliever, and we're going to use him as a follower. We got some interesting pieces here. Ezra Behringer is back after missing all of last season due to injury. He recovered faster than normal. Again, he's actually recently just added an extra 5 ceiling in the control. I'm looking forward to see what he can do. He's got a couple of great pitches, fastball, sinker. I'm looking forward to him and seeing what he can do. After we got him from Detroit late in 28, he was electric for us, 41 Ks in 29 2/3. So we'll see how he does. And then our middle guys, we got Miles Gross, who is back for another season, had a pretty solid 2029 for us. Luke Engel, who was a Rule 5 pick. I'm excited. I hope Luke Engel is able to develop this 70, 60, 55 profile because I think, again, at only 22, could be a long member of our bullpen. And we could get a very, very good 6-year run out of him if he develops a little bit and pops that extra 20 points of curveball. He could be really, really good. Kevin Molds, who was a guy that we traded, we picked up from Anaheim for some cash. I like this profile. I think we could see him, move into like a multi-inning kind of role, maybe an opener or like a pseudo opener where we throw him maybe 2 innings at the beginning of games. I think that'll be nice. Donovan Kelderhouse, who was a guy that we signed mostly for the fan interest because he's a pop, but he also has a nice little profile. I mean, nothing great, nothing to write home about. But he'll eat some innings for us. And Owen Farner, who was a holdover from last year, he threw 134 innings for us last year. He had 20 starts. He's a lefty. He's, again, the low movement, which is something that we could have got away with last year, probably comes back to hurt him in the caboose this year. I think, again, our roster's heading in the right direction. I think I had a really good offseason despite the fact that there were a few free agents that I really was targeting that unfortunately got away. I actually do still have a couple of free agents that we're trying to maybe bring in just to spend a little bit of that excess budget room we have. But I think, again, the position where we're at, our team is getting better. We're adding assets to the minors, and we're playing a smart financial game. Our season ticket sales are good. Our projected budget, we had a big budget decrease from 28 to 29. From 29 to 30, it was a very small decrease. And now, heading towards 2031, we're actually projected to start going back up. So I think we've been able to, get the rebuild process a couple years in without really damaging the future financials of the team, which is nice. That's the key, right? Is can you rebuild without absolutely torpedoing your financials in years to come. So we'll see how that works out. We do have some, interesting guys in the minors. Obviously, we're waiting to see if Santiro can figure it out. Now we got James Gaspard, Daniel Contreras, Conaboy, Guzman, McDonough. So we've got some arms down there. That's something that, again, we didn't have that a year ago or 2 years ago. We have a fistful of potential arm guys, which is nice. And we have San Juan. We have Newland Boyle, who could be interesting with the 70 movement and the 60 control. If he can get some velo, man, pop some velo here, buddy. He could be something special for us. We do have some position players that we're going to be keeping an eye on. Alfonso Santiro, Godoy, Bonnie, Cristobal Mendoza is starting to get close. Got some reps in the spring this year. Braylon Potter's an interesting two-way guy that, we would like to see him get some TCR love. Noel Carlson, again, our number one pick last year. So, again, there's a lot for us to be excited about. We got Santiago Garcia and Leon McConnell behind the plate as well. So it's going to be an interesting season. I think, again, if I had to lay down a prediction, I would say we're probably going to be 74 and 88. Because I think ultimately what ends up happening is, we're in a position where we don't have to, but we're in a position where we sell at the deadline for asset acquisition. That's most likely the path again this year. I think even if we were hovering around 500 in July, I think that would still have to be the path. I think for me, I've answered this in a few of the community surveys that have been out there. I think it was Grimes' survey. What year am I targeting to win? I think 2033, I think is a good one. I think 2031 would be amazing. 2032 would be well within the realm of possibility, but I think 2033. I think 2033 with guys like Agilov and Lujan and those guys like in the next to last year or the last year of arbitration, with some of the guys we've been able to draft like Krause and Carlson probably going to be big league ready. Santiago Garcia is probably going to be big league ready. We're still going to have some money to spend on free agents. We're going to have a lot of those a lot of those retentions are going to be off the books. So I think the bright days are to come for the Reds. But of course, it's OOTP. We need the dice rolls to go our way. I wish everybody out there a happy start to the 2030 season. Thank you guys so much for watching. And until next time, keep swinging for the fences.